And next tonight, the latest events from home and abroad in the Channel 4 News.
I was looking for an encounter. I was looking for a rich and sensual perfume. I was looking for Ysatis. Parfum Givenchy, Paris.
This authentic reproduction of Handel's original Messiah, as written and performed in 1754, is brought to you by the National Video Corporation and the BBC. Performed by the Academy of Ancient Music and the Choir of Westminster Abbey, on video in Dolby Stereo for only £29.50. You won't find it in the shops, but if you have an Access card or any Visa card, simply phone this number. Or make your cheque or postal order for £29.50 payable to Messiah Offer and send it to this address. Please state whether you want VHS or Beta.
And for the time coming up to 7 o'clock, it's over now to ITN, where we join Peter Sissons and Alistair Stewart for tonight's Channel 4 News.
Hello, good evening. Peter Walker invokes the spirit of Harold Macmillan against the letter of Thatcherism. We examine a key speech tonight by the Cabinet's leading wet, which appears to challenge the whole emphasis of the government's economic policy. What is Mr. Walker up to? Also, Neil Kinnock and the miners' strike, a profile of how the Labour leader's roots in the valleys condition his reflexes in the politics of industrial strife. Is the party over for Virgin? What Reagan's decision could mean for cheap air travel? And the row over a Manchester theatre. Are the Arts Council letting the regions down? But first, when is a political speech not just an ordinary political speech? Answer, when it's made by Peter Walker, when the Prime Minister is Margaret Thatcher, but when the beliefs invoked are those of Harold Macmillan. Such a speech is being made now in London by the Secretary of State for Energy, who's giving the first Harold Macmillan lecture.
Today, the spectre of high unemployment has now returned to Stockton and many other parts of Britain. The labour exchange has become the job centre. National assistance has become supplementary benefit. The dole is better than anybody could have dreamt in the 1930s. Today, we are able to cushion the harshest economic hardships of the unemployed. But the social waste is still the same. The human debilitation, just as bad. The affront to dignity, just as tragic as it was in the 1930s. Indeed, in some ways, the dangers to our social cohesion are even greater. Some of Britain's blackest unemployment areas are where the British are black. A generation of black youngsters is growing up, most of whom have never known work. What problems we are storing for the future.
Harold Macmillan, now the Earl of Stockton, was Prime Minister from 1957 to 1963 and is not one of Mrs. Thatcher's favourite predecessors. She prefers to quote Churchill. But tonight, Mr. Walker, in stark contrast to his leader, embraced everything Macmillan stood for. It's a statement of the alternative to Thatcherism by a member of Mrs. Thatcher's cabinet. The Macmillan aims, says Mr. Walker, need to remain the aims of the Conservative Party. And he quotes Macmillan often and directly. Moderation should be the keynote of policy. Extremes undermine national unity. Our aim, said Macmillan, is to harness different and conflicting interests, not to set them against each other with the strident accents of the class war. Well, the commentators are already crawling all over Mr. Walker's speech, examining its significance. We'll be doing that too in a moment. But before that, what are Peter Walker's credentials? Unlike some of the members of Mrs. Thatcher's cabinet, Peter Walker has had considerable experience of high government office. When Peter Walker was given his first cabinet job in 1970, top members of Mrs. Thatcher's government, like Leon Brittan and Nigel Lawson, were not even MPs. In the Heath government of 1970, Peter Walker became Environment Secretary and then Trade and Industry Secretary. But when Thatcher ousted Heath in 1975, Walker's political career looked to be in some doubt. When Mrs. Thatcher was elected in 1979, Peter Walker was brought back into the fold and given the job of Agriculture Minister, where he won support from British farmers for his success in getting extra resources from the EEC. But his major opportunity has been as Energy Secretary. How he's judged when the miners' strike is over is crucial to his personal prospects and to the advancement of his brand of Toryism. And he told us again tonight in the Macmillan lecture what that is. But as in the past, much of it has to be decoded. At this point, we're joined by ITN's political correspondent, David Walter. David, let's take first a key passage on overseas aid, which invokes the spirit of Macmillan's famous wind of change. Harold Macmillan would not take a narrow accountant's view of Latin America.